The courtroom is quiet this morning, save for the low hum of fluorescent lights and the occasional shuffle of papers. Judge Frank Caprio sits behind his bench in Providence Municipal Court, reading glasses perched on his nose, flipping through case files with the measured patience of a man who's seen thousands of stories walk through these doors. His chamber's clerk calls the next case, and the name echoes through the wood-paneled room, docket ending in 472. Maya Richardson. A young woman steps forward. She's maybe 23, 24 years old, dressed in navy blue scrubs that look faded from too many washes. Her dark hair is pulled back in a ponytail, and there's something in the way she carries herself, shoulders tight, eyes cast downward, that immediately catches Caprio's attention. She's nervous, but it's not the usual nervousness he sees. This is deeper. This is someone who's carrying weight. Judge Caprio looks up from the file, his expression softening the moment he sees her. "Good morning," he says gently, his voice warm like a grandfather greeting a grandchild. "Come on up. Don't be nervous. We're just going to talk." Maya approaches the podium slowly, clutching a small purse against her side. She glances at the court officer, then back at the judge, and offers a small, hesitant smile. "Good morning, Your Honor." Caprio leans back in his chair, studying her for a moment. He's not looking at the case file anymore. He's looking at her. "You're wearing scrubs," he observes. "You work in healthcare?" "Yes, sir," Maya replies, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm a CNA. Certified Nursing Assistant. I work at a nursing home in Cranston." Caprio nods thoughtfully, a slight smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "That's hard work. Very hard work. My mother was in a nursing home before she passed. The CNAs, they were angels. Every single one of them." He pauses, letting that settle. "So I appreciate what you do." Maya's eyes glisten for just a moment, and she nods quickly, swallowing hard. "Thank you, Your Honor." The judge opens the file in front of him, scanning the details with a furrowed brow. His expression shifts: concern, curiosity, confusion, all in the span of a few seconds. "All right, let's see what we have here." He pauses. "Parking tickets. Multiple parking tickets." He looks up at her, tilting his head slightly. 5 tickets. All from the same area. All in the evening hours. All near Rhode Island Hospital. He sets the file down and folds his hands. "Maya, talk to me. What happened here?" Maya takes a breath, her fingers tightening around the strap of her purse. "Your Honor, I was parking illegally. I know that. I'm not trying to say I didn't do it. I didn't have a choice." Caprio leans forward slightly, his voice soft but probing. "You didn't have a choice. Help me understand that. There's parking garages near the hospital. There's meters. Why were you parking in a no parking zone?" Her jaw tightens, and for a moment, it looks like she might cry. But she holds it together, lifting her chin just slightly. "Because I couldn't afford the garage, Your Honor. And the meters. They only take cards now. I didn't have money on my card. I barely had gas money to get there." Caprio's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes. Compassion. Recognition. "You were going to the hospital," he says quietly. "Who were you visiting?" Maya hesitates, her lips parting as if the words are stuck somewhere in her throat. Finally, she says, "My mom." The courtroom goes still. Even the court officer, standing near the door, shifts his weight, listening now. Judge Caprio removes his glasses slowly, setting them on the bench. "Your mom," he repeats gently. "Is she okay?" Maya shakes her head, and this time, a tear slips down her cheek. She wipes it away quickly, almost angry at herself for showing emotion. "No, Your Honor. She's not okay. She had a stroke. A really bad one. She was in the ICU for 3 weeks, and then they moved her to a step-down unit. I was there every single night after my shift. I'd work all day, and then I'd drive straight to the hospital to sit with her because she was scared. She didn't understand what was happening. And I didn't want her to be alone. Caprio's face softens even further, and he nods slowly, his voice barely above a whisper. Of course you didn't. Judge Caprio sits quietly for a moment, letting the weight of Maya's words settle in the courtroom. He's not rushing. He never does. This is a man who understands that behind every ticket, every violation, every case that crosses his bench, there's a human being with a story. And he's determined to hear it. Maya, he says gently, I need you to help me understand your situation a little better. You said you couldn't afford the parking garage. You're working full-time as a CNA, right? Yes, Your Honor. And how much do they pay you for that? If you don't mind me asking. Maya shifts on her feet, clearly uncomfortable but willing to answer. $14.50 an hour. I work 40 hours a week, sometimes more if they need me for overtime. Caprio does the math in his head, his brow furrowing. That's about, what, $500 and change a week before taxes? Around that, yes. And what are your expenses like? Rent? Bills? Maya takes a deep breath, steadying herself. I live in a one-bedroom apartment in Pawtucket. Rent is $1,200 a month. I have a car payment, insurance, groceries, utilities. My mom's medical bills started piling up before the stroke, so I was helping her with those too. She's on disability, but it's not enough. It's never enough. Caprio nods slowly, his expression pained. So you're supporting yourself and helping your mother? Yes, sir. And then she had the stroke. Yes. And you were driving to the hospital every night after work? Every single night, Maya confirms, her voice firmer now. I couldn't miss a day. She needed me. She'd wake up confused, not knowing where she was, and the nurses, they're great, but they're so busy. They can't sit with every patient. So I'd sit with her. I'd hold her hand. I'd talk to her, play her favorite music, remind her who I was. Some days she didn't recognize me, but I stayed anyway. Judge Caprio's eyes glisten, and he presses his lips together, clearly moved. How long did this go on? 2 months, Maya says quietly. The stroke was in July. She passed away in September. The air seems to leave the room. Even the clerk looks up from her desk, her expression stricken. Caprio closes his eyes for a moment, then opens them, his voice thick with emotion. I'm so sorry. Maya nods, tears streaming down her face now. She doesn't bother wiping them away anymore. Thank you, Your Honor. Caprio takes a moment to compose himself, then gestures toward the file. These tickets. They're all from August and September. Yes, sir. So while your mother was in the hospital? Yes. He flips through the paperwork, shaking his head. 5 tickets at $50 each. That's $250 in fines. He looks up at her. Have you been able to pay any of this? No, Your Honor, Maya admits, her voice breaking. I've been trying, but after my mom passed, there were funeral costs. I didn't have life insurance for her. I had to take out a loan just to bury her. And then I fell behind on my own bills. I'm barely keeping my head above water. Caprio leans back in his chair, steepling his fingers under his chin. Where's your father? He asks gently. Maya's expression shifts something complicated, a mix of sadness and something else. Pride, maybe. Or protection. He's around, she says carefully. Around? Caprio repeats, his tone curious but not pushing. Does he help you? He tries, Maya says slowly. But he's busy. He has his own life. Caprio studies her for a long moment, and then something clicks in his mind. He glances down at the file again, scanning the details. Richardson, he murmurs. Maya Richardson. He looks up sharply. Wait a minute. What's your father's name? Maya hesitates, biting her lip. Your Honor, I don't want to. What's his name? Caprio asks again, his voice still gentle but insistent. She exhales slowly. James Richardson. The judge's eyes widen, and he sets the file down with a thud. Chief James Richardson. The chief of police in Pawtucket. A ripple goes through the courtroom. The clerk's head snaps up. The court officer straightens. Maya looks down at her feet, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. Yes, Your Honor, she whispers. Judge Caprio sits back in his chair, his expression unreadable for a moment. He's processing this new information, turning it over in his mind. Then, slowly, a look of deep concern crosses his face. Your father is the chief of police, he says quietly, almost to himself. And you're here in my courtroom, struggling to pay parking tickets because you couldn't afford to park while visiting your dying mother in the hospital. Maya's shoulders tremble, but she doesn't respond. She just stands there, tears streaming down her face, arms wrapped around herself as if trying to hold the pieces together. Caprio leans forward, his voice soft but probing. Maya, does your father know you're here today? She shakes her head quickly. No, Your Honor. I didn't tell him. Why not? Because. She pauses, struggling to find the words. Because he has so much on his plate already. He's the chief. He's responsible for an entire police department, for the whole city. And he and my mom, they divorced when I was 16. It wasn't easy. There's still tension there. When she got sick, I didn't want to put him in the middle of it. I just handled it myself. Caprio's expression shifts to something between admiration and heartbreak. You handled it yourself, he repeats softly. You took care of your mother, worked full-time, and tried to keep everything together on your own. I didn't have a choice, Maya says again, her voice barely audible. You always have a choice, Caprio replies gently. But you made the choice to put your mother first. To sacrifice everything for her. That's not nothing, Maya. That's everything. Maya breaks down completely now, covering her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking with sobs. The courtroom is silent except for the sound of her crying. Judge Caprio doesn't interrupt. He just waits, giving her the space to feel what she needs to feel. After a long moment, he speaks again, his voice calm and steady. Maya, I want to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with me. When was the last time you talked to your father? Really talked to him? She lowers her hands, wiping her eyes with the back of her wrist. I don't know. A few weeks, maybe. We text sometimes, but it's usually just surface stuff. How's work? How's the weather? Nothing real. Does he know how much you're struggling? No, she whispers. I didn't want him to worry. Caprio nods slowly, then makes a decision. Do you have his phone number? Maya looks up, startled. What? Your father's phone number, Caprio repeats. Do you have it? Yes, but I want to call him, Caprio says simply. Maya's eyes widen in panic. Your Honor, please, I don't want to bother him. He's probably in a meeting or. Maya, Caprio interrupts gently, I've been doing this for a long time. And one thing I've learned is that parents, even when they're busy, even when life gets in the way, they want to know when their children are hurting. Your father is the chief of police. He spends his days protecting this city. But you're his daughter. And you need protecting too. Tears stream down Maya's face again, but she doesn't argue. Slowly, she reaches into her purse and pulls out her phone. Her hands are shaking as she unlocks it and scrolls through her contacts. Your Honor, I don't know if this is a good idea. Trust me, Caprio says softly. What's the number? She reads it off, her voice trembling. Caprio's clerk writes it down and hands him the courtroom phone. The judge dials carefully, then puts the call on speaker. The room is so quiet you could hear a pin drop. The phone rings once. Twice. 3 times. Then a deep, authoritative voice answers. Chief Richardson. Chief Richardson, this is Judge Frank Caprio from Providence Municipal Court. Do you have a moment? There's a pause on the other end, confusion evident in his tone. Judge Caprio? Yes, of course. Is everything all right? Well, Caprio says carefully, I have someone here in my courtroom who I think you should talk to. Who? Caprio looks at Maya, his expression encouraging. Go ahead, sweetheart. Say hello. Maya's voice cracks as she speaks. Hi, Dad. The silence on the other end of the line stretches for what feels like an eternity. Then, Chief Richardson's voice comes through, thick with shock and concern. Maya? Baby, what's going on? Why are you in court? Maya's face crumples, and she presses a hand to her mouth, trying to hold back another wave of tears. Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to bother you. I just... Bother me? Her father's voice rises, not in anger but in disbelief. Maya, what are you talking about? What's happening? Judge Caprio gently interjects, his tone calm and steady. Chief, let me explain. Your daughter is here today because she received 5 parking tickets over the course of 2 months. All of them were issued near Rhode Island Hospital during the time she was visiting her mother in the ICU and step-down unit. She's told me she couldn't afford the parking garage fees, and she had no money on her card for the meters. So she parked illegally because she needed to be with her mother every single night after working a full shift as a CNA. There's a sharp intake of breath on the other end. Her mother. You mean Kelly? Yes, Caprio confirms quietly. Your ex-wife. She had a stroke in July. Maya spent 2 months by her side. Kelly passed away in September. The phone goes silent again, but this time the silence is different. It's the sound of a man's world tilting on its axis. When Chief Richardson speaks again, his voice is barely above a whisper. Kelly died? Yes, Dad, Maya says, her voice breaking. I'm sorry. I should have told you. I didn't know how. And you were so busy, and I didn't want to put you in the middle of. Stop, her father interrupts, and there's raw pain in his voice now. Maya, stop. You should have told me. You should have called me. I don't care how busy I was. I don't care what happened between your mother and me. You're my daughter. You're my little girl. And you went through all of that alone? Maya nods, even though he can't see her, tears streaming down her face. I didn't want to burden you. Burden me? Chief Richardson's voice breaks. Maya, you could never be a burden. Never. Do you hear me? The courtroom is completely silent now. Even Judge Caprio has tears in his eyes, his hand resting on the edge of the bench as he listens to this father and daughter confront years of distance and miscommunication in real time. Chief, Caprio says gently, there's more. The fines from these tickets total $250. Maya hasn't been able to pay them because she's been struggling financially. She took out a loan to cover her mother's funeral costs, and she's fallen behind on her own bills. She's here today facing these violations, and she has no way to pay. There's a long pause, and then Chief Richardson speaks, his voice firm and resolute. Judge Caprio, I'll pay the fines. All of them. Right now. Whatever she owes, I'll take care of it. Maya's eyes widen, and she shakes her head frantically. Dad, no. You don't have to. Yes, I do, her father says, his voice leaving no room for argument. And Maya, I need you to listen to me. I need you to really hear what I'm saying. I failed you. I thought giving you space, not interfering, was the right thing to do after the divorce. I thought you were strong enough to handle everything on your own. And you are strong, you're the strongest person I know, but you shouldn't have had to do this alone. I should have been there. I should have checked in more. I should have known what you were going through. Maya sobs openly now, her whole body shaking. Dad, it's okay. I'm okay. No, it's not okay, Chief Richardson says, and there's a fierce protectiveness in his voice now. You're not okay. And I'm going to make sure you are. Judge Caprio, whatever she needs, whether it's the fines, help with bills, anything, I'm going to take care of it. My daughter is not going to struggle like this. Not while I'm still breathing. Judge Caprio smiles, a warm, genuine smile that lights up his whole face. Chief, I think that's exactly what she needs to hear. But I want to tell you something too. You have an extraordinary daughter. She's sitting here in this courtroom, exhausted, grieving, struggling to keep her head above water, and she still showed up today with dignity and grace. She didn't make excuses. She didn't blame anyone. She just told me the truth. You raised a remarkable young woman. There's a long pause, and when Chief Richardson speaks again, his voice is thick with emotion. Thank you, Judge. And Maya. Sweetheart, I'm leaving the office right now. I'm coming to the courthouse. I want to see you. I need to see you. Dad, you don't have to. I'm already out the door, he says firmly. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Judge Caprio lets the moment settle before he speaks again, his voice warm and measured. Chief, I'll see you when you get here. In the meantime, I'm going to take care of a few things on this end. He pauses, glancing at Maya with a gentle expression. And Maya, you just sit tight. We're going to get this figured out. Thank you, Your Honor, Maya whispers. The phone call ends, and the courtroom remains silent for a beat. Then Caprio sets the phone down and looks directly at Maya, his eyes kind but serious. All right, Maya. Let's talk about these tickets. She nods, wiping her eyes with a tissue the clerk has handed her. Caprio flips through the file one more time, shaking his head. 5 tickets. $50 each. $250 total. Issued to a young woman who was doing nothing more than trying to be with her dying mother. He pauses, looking up at her. Here's what I think. I think the city of Providence should be ashamed of itself for issuing these tickets in the first place. I think parking enforcement should have a little more compassion, a little more humanity. Because this right here, this is exactly the kind of situation where mercy should prevail. Maya's breath catches, and she stares at him, not daring to hope. Caprio continues, his voice growing stronger. You were a daughter caring for her mother. You were working full-time, barely making enough to survive, and still, you showed up every single night. You sacrificed your own well-being for someone you loved. That's not a crime, Maya. That's heroism. Tears stream down her face again, and she nods, unable to speak. Judge Caprio picks up his pen and writes something on the file. Then he looks up, his expression resolute. I'm dismissing all 5 tickets. Every single one of them. You don't owe the city of Providence a dime. Maya gasps, her hand flying to her mouth. Your Honor, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, Caprio replies gently. You've already said enough. You've already shown me who you are. And what you are is a good person who deserves a break. The courtroom erupts in applause. The court officer claps. The clerk wipes her eyes. Even the few people sitting in the gallery, witnesses waiting for their own cases, are on their feet, clapping and cheering. Maya stands there, overwhelmed, tears streaming down her face, her hands pressed to her chest. Thank you, she whispers. Thank you so much. Caprio stands, stepping down from the bench, which he rarely does. He walks over to Maya and places a hand on her shoulder. You listen to me, he says quietly, his voice for her alone. Life is going to get better. I know it doesn't feel like it right now. I know you're tired and you're grieving and you're scared. But you're going to get through this. And your father, he's going to be there for you. You're not alone anymore. Maya nods, choking on her tears. Thank you, Judge Caprio. Thank you. Just then, the courtroom doors burst open, and a tall man in a police uniform strides in. Chief James Richardson is a commanding presence, broad-shouldered, graying hair, the kind of man who's used to being in control. But right now, his face is stricken, his eyes red-rimmed, and the moment he sees Maya, he doesn't care about protocol or decorum. He crosses the courtroom in 3 long strides and wraps his daughter in his arms. I'm so sorry, he murmurs into her hair, his voice breaking. I'm so sorry. Maya collapses into his embrace, sobbing. Dad, I missed you. I missed you too, baby. I missed you too. Judge Caprio steps back, giving them space, his own eyes wet with tears. He watches as this father and daughter hold each other, 2 people who've been separated by time and circumstance and pride, finally finding their way back to each other. After a long moment, Chief Richardson looks up at Judge Caprio, his expression one of profound gratitude. Judge, I don't know how to thank you. Caprio waves a hand dismissively. You don't thank me. You take care of your daughter. That's all the thanks I need. Chief Richardson nods, then looks down at Maya. We're going to get you help. With the bills, with everything. You're going to move in with me for a while, just until you get back on your feet. And we're going to talk. Really talk. No more distance. No more pretending everything's fine when it's not. Maya nods, clinging to him. Okay, Dad. Okay. Judge Caprio returns to the bench, his expression serene. He picks up his gavel and taps it gently. Case dismissed, he says simply. Then he looks out at the courtroom, addressing everyone present. You know, people come into this courtroom every day with problems. Big problems. Small problems. Problems they caused, problems life threw at them. And my job is to enforce the law. But my job is also to remember that the law exists to serve people, not the other way around. Maya came in here today expecting judgment. What she got was justice. And sometimes, justice looks like mercy. He pauses, letting his words sink in. We live in a world that's too quick to punish and too slow to forgive. We see a violation and we issue a fine. We see a mistake and we condemn. But we forget to ask the most important question, what's the story? What's really going on? And when we take the time to ask, when we take the time to listen, we realize that most people aren't bad. They're just struggling. And they need a hand, not a hammer. The courtroom is silent, hanging on every word. Maya, Caprio says, looking directly at her, you go home with your father. You grieve. You heal. You let people who love you take care of you for a while. And when you're ready, you get back to work taking care of others, because that's who you are. But remember this, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to take care of yourself too. Maya nods, her face wet with tears but her expression lighter than it's been in months. I will, Your Honor. I promise. Judge Caprio smiles, a warm, grandfatherly smile. Good. Now get out of here. And Chief, you take the rest of the day off. Spend it with your daughter. Chief Richardson salutes, a gesture of respect and gratitude. Yes, sir. As they turn to leave, the courtroom erupts in applause once more. Maya and her father walk out together, his arm around her shoulders, her head leaning against his chest. The doors close behind them, and for a moment, Judge Caprio just sits there, his hands folded on the bench, a small smile playing at his lips. Then he looks up at his clerk. Next case. The clerk nods, but before she can call the next name, Judge Caprio adds one more thing. And somebody get parking enforcement on the phone. Tell them I want to talk about their policies regarding hospital parking. We need to do better. The clerk grins. Yes, Your Honor. As the next defendant steps forward, the camera lingers on Judge Caprio's face, a face that's seen it all, judged it all, and still believes in the fundamental goodness of people. A face that understands that behind every case is a human being, and every human being deserves dignity, compassion, and a second chance. Because in Frank Caprio's courtroom, justice isn't blind. It sees everything. And it chooses mercy.